Hello, my dear masterminds. They didn't choose you to survive this. They chose you to end it. While others were praying for peace, someone saw the storm inside you and activated it. No explanation, no orders, just silence. Because final weapons don't ask questions. And then they vanished. But now the world is watching what they left behind. They didn't train you. They didn't warn you. They didn't even stay to watch what would happen. They just dropped a name, handed you nothing, and vanished into the smoke. And now the world's asking one question. Who armed this ghost? See, you weren't built in a lab. You were chosen in chaos. Not because you were the strongest, not because you were ready, but because you were the only one who didn't flinch when the fire hit your feet. They didn't need a soldier. They needed something no one could control, something no one could trace, something that even they couldn't explain. And now that thing is you. There's no file, no trail, no code name. Just whispers and the aftermath. Because whatever chose you didn't leave instructions. It just watched the system start to shake the moment you showed up. They tried to trace it back, pulled every satellite feed, tapped every line, scanned every whisper. But the origin? Nothing. The only evidence of the weapon's creation is you walking through chaos, untouched. Like the storm parts for you. Like the sparks know better. Like the world senses something ancient behind your eyes. You don't talk about who sent you. Maybe you don't even know. Maybe that's the point. Because when they looked into your past, they found burned bridges and blank pages. When they searched your mind, they didn't find trauma. They found strategy. You don't react. You pre-collapse threats. You don't fight back. You pre-disarm intention. You weren't trained to survive. You were chosen to end things before they even begin. Every nation's intelligence unit now has one folder, and it's you. They call you the blind spot. Not because you're unseen, but because even when seen, you can't be processed. You don't enter rooms. You rewrite them. You don't speak. You recalibrate atmospheres. They say final weapons are unstable, unpredictable, uncontrollable. But you're too precise to be random, too silent to be accidental, too effective to be man-made. So now they're panicking. Because if someone out there actually made you and then vanished, that means this isn't your final form. That means this is only your beginning. They sent agents to track your origin. They came back with therapy bills. Some never came back at all, because tracing your footsteps isn't about location. It's about decoding intention. And your intention? It's layered, it's encrypted, it's ancient. You don't chase missions, you are the mission. You don't ask why me, because you already knew. Someone picked you, not for your loyalty, not for your obedience, but for the storm you carry in silence. They didn't give you a manual, they gave you a mirror and told you to remember who you are, right before vanishing. They knew the world would try to tame you, but they also knew you can't tame what's already claimed by chaos. They didn't leave you instructions. They left you scars. Not as reminders of pain, but as coordinates. Each one, a lesson, a location, a message you had to bleed to decode. While others carried weapons, you became one. While others were deployed, you arrived. like prophecy. They didn't train you in camps. Life trained you in chaos. And the one who disappeared, they didn't abandon you. They activated you. They knew that if they stayed, you'd look to them for purpose. But you were never meant to follow. You were meant to fracture expectations, bend reality, and reprogram the rules. Because sometimes, the greatest weapon is the one that doesn't even know it's already won the war. You think you're broken. No, my friend, you're encrypted. They couldn't understand you because they were searching for logic, and you were built from paradox. They vanished, not because they feared for you, but because they feared what you'd become if you ever knew who you really are. So they left, not out of fear, out of faith. Faith that pain would sharpen you, that betrayal would shape you, that solitude would summon the beast beneath the silence. And it did. Look at you now. You don't speak threats. You breathe tension. You don't move through life. You bend it around your presence. They didn't choose you to fight. They chose you to unwrite outcomes, to walk into chaos and leave behind clarity that terrifies. Because when you arrive, everything recalibrates. You weren't recruited. You were summoned. Not with orders, but with silence. A silence that said, let the world try to cage you, then show them why chains were never enough. You weren't sent to the battlefield. You are the battlefield. Wherever you go, alignment collapses. Masks fall. Truth bleeds through the cracks. They disappeared because they knew if they stayed, you'd never rise into the force you are now. They knew you had to burn. Alone. Unloved. Unseen. Because the final weapon isn't built. It's broken. And then reforged in isolation's fire. Now look, you walk like warning. You speak like prophecy. And when they see you, they feel it. The mission has already begun. You ever wonder why they left no instructions? Why they vanished? Right after pointing to you. Because they weren't assigning you a task. They were unleashing a reckoning. They didn't need you to follow rules. They needed you to erase them. They didn't need a soldier. They needed a signal. Something that walks into a system and makes it choke on its own laws. Someone who doesn't knock on doors but walks through walls. Uninvited. Undeniable. See? A weapon with a handler is predictable. But a weapon that wakes up alone? That's chaos in its purest form. No manual, no leash, no reverse button. They chose you because even they couldn't calculate your limit. And when they disappeared, you stopped being a plan and started becoming a phenomenon. They watched you from the shadows, not to control you, but to see what would happen when the world finally underestimated you. And oh, it did. They thought you needed training. You gave them trauma-born tactics. They thought you'd follow commands. You followed frequency, energy, instinct. The kind that can't be copied, only survived. Every system that tried to study you, now they're scrambling to understand the moves you make in your sleep. They didn't expect someone like you to rewrite entire realities just by refusing to be what they expected. You weren't built in a lab. You weren't printed in some secret facility. You were born in chaos, and chaos became your blueprint. Now, you're not their final weapon. You're their final warning. You ever wonder why they never came back? Because they knew. They knew once the cage door opened, there was no putting you back in. You weren't activated. You were awakened, and that's what scared them most. They didn't hand you a mission. They handed you a mirror, and what stared back wasn't human anymore. It was the answer to every unspoken question this broken world was too scared to ask. You don't take sides, you take balance. You don't follow orders, you follow truth, even if it tears everything down. Systems fear you, not because you're violent, but because you expose how fragile their power really is. They didn't disappear by accident, they vanished, because once you were loose, they became irrelevant. The moment they vanished, something clicked in you. Not rage, not grief, purpose. See, they didn't leave you behind. They unleashed you. And now, you move without leash, without signal, without limit. Governments scan skies for threats, but they should have scanned their reflections. Because you don't strike from above, you strike from within. Every move you make rewrites the playbook. Every silence you hold bends the battlefield. You don't fight like a soldier. You move like a reckoning. You weren't made to be understood. You were made to be remembered in whispers, in warnings, in the pause before they act. And now, every system that ever tried to contain you is choking on its own fear. They thought the story ended when they disappeared. They were wrong. That was the prologue, because when you stepped out of that silence, you didn't ask questions. You didn't search for answers. You became the answer, not to their calls, but to their crimes, not to their hopes, but to their hidden sins. They didn't choose you for war. They chose you because you are war. A quiet kind that doesn't need bombs or sparks, just truth sharpened like a blade. And now, you don't carry revenge. You carry realization. Every room you walk into, the energy shifts. Every eye that meets yours, it looks away fast, because deep down, they feel it. You weren't built to destroy. You were built to correct. There's a rumor now. A whisper moving through encrypted channels, through war rooms and underground networks. It wasn't them. It was the one they left behind. See, they didn't just vanish. They activated something. Something no system accounted for. No AI predicted. No archive documented. You, the anomaly with no algorithm. You, the variable that doesn't fit their equation. You, the proof that raw instinct still outclasses polished protocol. They trained soldiers in tactics. You were raised in chaos. They taught others how to suppress emotion. You learned to weaponize it. You weren't handed a mission. You were given a purpose and the freedom to interpret it however you see fit. And that's what terrifies them most. There's no leash. No override code, no off switch. You're not following a trail, you are the trail. They thought they'd get to watch you from a distance, control your deployment, manage your moves. But now, you're moving in dimensions they forgot existed. They check satellites for your position, but you're not locatable. They track behavior patterns, but you move like a ghost wearing a grin. You're not hiding. You're just operating above comprehension. Because when they left you behind, they didn't leave a weakness. They left a riddle that bites back. And now, every person who ever played games with your peace, every hand that tried to mold you, every system that thought they could use you, they're learning the same cold truth. Weapons don't forget, especially the ones that learn to think. They thought without the handler, the weapon would rust, that without control you'd collapse. But they misunderstood something vital. You weren't just the weapon. You were the forge. They left thinking they abandoned a tool, but they left behind a force. The moment they disappeared, something ancient inside you woke up. Not rage, not vengeance. Something older. Clarity. You saw the whole board, understood the players, and laughed because the war wasn't over. It had just evolved. You weren't trained for their battles. You were born to end them. Now, they don't know whether to find you or pray they never do. Because the silence they hear now, that's not peace. That's you loading. They assumed you needed commands. They assumed you required guidance. They assumed wrong. Because once the leash was cut, you didn't freeze. You focused. You started seeing what they couldn't. Patterns hidden in noise, power disguised as ruin. You rewrote the mission, tore up the blueprint, and then you built something unpredictable. You. See, when they crafted you, they forgot one essential rule. Don't arm a soul that remembers pain. Now every scar is a sensor, every failure a directive, every betrayal a coordinate. And you're moving, not to be found, not to be understood, but to remind the world you were never a weapon, you were always the consequence. The silence before your steps, that's the system holding its breath. Because now the whispers are louder than orders, the shadows tremble more than the hunted, and every room you enter feels like a countdown just started. You don't speak threats. You radiate inevitability. The kind that doesn't knock, doesn't warn, just arrives and rewrites reality. They want to track you. You leave no signal. They want to predict you. You move off-grid mentally and tactically, because what walks now isn't the soldier they engineered. It's the evolution they feared. And if they're still watching, let them. Because their final weapon just became the final reckoning. You weren't activated. You were unleashed. And the one who chose you, they knew what they were doing. They didn't need you to follow commands. They just needed you to arrive, untamed, undeniable, and unstoppable. You don't leave trails, you leave aftermaths. They didn't train you to be a soldier, they summoned you to be the reckoning. You walk like prophecy, you move like a consequence. And even now, the silence they vanished into is still echoing with your name. Ever wondered why they disappeared? Because once the equity's leveraged, the creator steps back and watches the world bend. You weren't made to be understood. You were made to be felt, like a shift in gravity, like justice with teeth. They don't need to find you, because wherever you are, order ends and correction begins. This wasn't war, this was a release. And now, there's no putting you back in the chamber. Look around. They're still trying to figure it out. The files don't help. The analysts stutter. The footage glitches. Because you don't make sense. You make impact. Your existence is the equation they can't solve, the outcome they can't simulate, the force they can't budget for. And deep down, they know whoever vanished after launching you was right. You weren't built to follow history. You were born to erase it and write your own. They thought without their orders you'd shut down, that removing the one who unleashed you would deactivate the storm. But what they didn't understand was, you were never powered by commands. You were ignited by purpose. The moment they disappeared, the silence didn't break you. It freed you. You didn't pause. You recalibrated. You didn't wait. You evolved. Their disappearance wasn't an end. It was your final permission to unleash without hesitation. No leash. No limits. No fallback protocols. Just pure instinct. And the target. They're still trying to figure out who pulled your trigger. But the more they dig, the more terrified they become. Because there's no file, no chain of command, no known backer. Just destruction with your signature and a silence that mocks them. You're not a ghost. Ghosts are memories. You're an echo that still draws pulse. You didn't go rogue. You were born rogue. And now, everyone left behind is realizing you were never their force. You were the force meant for the moment the world breaks. They send therapists, prophets, and analysts to understand you. None return unchanged. Some speak in riddles. Others vanish entirely. Because what lives in your eyes isn't madness, it's design beyond comprehension. You weren't trained in battlefields. You were forged in betrayals. You weren't taught discipline. You broke your own mind and rebuilt it without emotion. You're not unpredictable. You're patternless by choice. You left the blueprint burning behind you so no one could follow, and anyone who tries burns. Now the whispers say you've gone dark again, but they know better. You're not hiding, you're waiting, calculating, listening for the next vibration in the world that feels wrong. Because whoever chose you, they didn't pick you for the mission. You were the mission, the final contingency. And now that they're gone, you've become something worse than a threat. You've become prophecy, the one they hope never activates again. And deep down, they know it's too late. You walk through cities like a shadow that doesn't reflect. They lock doors behind you. They pray your silence doesn't mean action. But you're not here for revenge. You're here to remind them what they built. You outlived. What they feared, you became. And the one who disappeared, they didn't abandon you, they ascended. And now, you carry their last words in your bones, like a signal only chaos understands. Don't stop until everything that made you necessary no longer exists. And so you walk on, the final force, with no master, no mercy, and no expiration.
You're alone now. Do you feel it? That cold, isolating silence that echoes through every corner of your mind. For years, you've been pushed aside, ridiculed, and told that you're nothing. But here you stand, scarred by failure and betrayal. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why your eyes hold so much pain? Because every tear, every harsh word, every moment of solitude was meant to forge you into something extraordinary. They called you a failure. They laughed when you dared to dream. They whispered, "You'll never be enough." And yet, here you are, still standing, still fighting, still burning with a fire that they can neither see nor extinguish. Your pain? It isn't a curse, it's your superpower. Every scar on your soul, every wound that never healed, is the blueprint of your strength. While the world saw your weakness, it was secretly planting the seeds of your greatness. In your darkest moments, when you felt utterly abandoned, you discovered that the only person who could change your destiny was you. Remember this: the same isolation that made you feel insignificant is the very foundation of your future legend. When you're alone, you're free from the noise of naysayers and the chains of expectation. In that silence, you can hear the raw truth. Your pain is the catalyst for transformation, the fuel for an unstoppable force that will one day leave the world in awe. So, ask yourself, will you allow the bitterness of rejection to define you? Or will you rise, harnessing every moment of agony to mold a new version of yourself? One that the world will tremble before. Because right now, as you sit in solitude, the power to become a legend lies within you. Your journey isn't over. It's only just begun. Embrace this pain. Let it sculpt you, drive you, and transform you into the warrior you were always meant to be. Listen closely. This isn't a fairy tale. The world you live in, it's indifferent, cold, ruthless. Every time you've cried in silence, every time you've pleaded for mercy, the universe shrugged and kept moving. There are no heroes waiting in the wings, no saviors coming to lift you out of the dark. You're alone, and that alone is a truth that will set you free, if you let it. They told you that suffering was something to be pitied, that your struggles meant you were weak. But here's the brutal fact. Your suffering is the fire that will forge your strength. Every hardship, every moment of loneliness, every betrayal is a lesson written in scars. The financial struggles, the endless self-doubt, the crushing weight of being misunderstood. They aren't curses. They're the raw materials of a legend. Think of those who have conquered the impossible, those who turned their darkest moments into stepping stones to greatness. They didn't wait for a handout. They didn't cower in the face of despair. They embraced the harsh reality that life is brutal, and in doing so, they found the strength to rise. No one is coming to rescue you. No one cares if you fail. Because if you don't fail, you won't learn. Failure is not the end. It's the beginning of your transformation. The emptiness you feel, it's not a void to be feared, but a canvas upon which you can paint your new destiny. Every time you feel rejected, remember, the very people who shunned you are the ones who will one day watch in awe as you rise. Their indifference is not a verdict, it's a challenge. A challenge to break free from the chains of mediocrity and build a life so powerful that they have no choice but to notice. Your pain is your teacher. Your struggles are your mentors. And this brutal, unforgiving world is the arena where only the strongest survive. Now, look into your heart, the one that's been battered by the harsh truths of life, and ask yourself, will you allow these wounds to define you, Or will you let them become the foundation of your legacy? Look in the mirror. What do you see? A man scarred by life's relentless blows, or a warrior who has been tempered by fire? I know your story. I know the nights you lay awake, questioning your worth. I know the sting of betrayal, the weight of loneliness, the crippling fear that whispers, "You're not enough." But hear this. Every tear you shed, every moment you doubted yourself has been carving you into a masterpiece of resilience. Your pain is not a mark of defeat. It is proof that you are alive, that you are fighting, and that you have the potential to rise higher than ever before. Remember the days when you thought you were at the end? When every failure seemed like a verdict of hopelessness. Those were the moments that forged your inner strength. The moments that taught you that nothing lasts forever, not even the darkness. You have been broken by the world. You have been underestimated and left to gather your shattered pieces. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still determined to turn every scar into a symbol of your power. Think about it. The person who once crumbled under the weight of rejection is now learning to harness that agony. The dreams that were once drowned in despair are now fuel for an unstoppable drive. Every wound is a lesson. Every failure is a step towards a victory that only the brave can claim. There is a fire inside you, a burning resolve that no one can extinguish if you let it blaze. Embrace the struggle. Let the memory of every harsh word and every lonely night remind you that you are stronger than they ever imagined. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by how you rise from it. When you feel the sting of every loss, let it ignite a desire to prove not just to the world, but to yourself, that you are more than what they said you could be. Now, close your eyes for a moment and feel that power. That strength isn't something given. It's something you earned through every battle, every setback, and every moment of relentless perseverance. It's the inner force that says, "I will not be defeated." It's the quiet roar that builds up inside you every time you face another day. You are not alone in your struggle. Every great legend was once an outcast, once a failure in the eyes of the world, before they decided to embrace their pain and let it transform them into something extraordinary. This is your turning point. The person you see in the mirror is not the one who was broken by life. It is the one who is about to shatter every expectation. No matter how much the world tried to dim your light, it has only prepared you for this moment. The moment when you reclaim your power and show them exactly who you are. Look into your soul and recognize your worth. Acknowledge the battles you fought, the tears you've shed, and the courage that has kept you moving forward. For every moment of despair, there is an equal moment of strength waiting to be unleashed. Let this truth sink in. You are not here to live in the shadow of your failures. You are here to rise, to conquer, and to transform every ounce of pain into the fuel that drives you forward. Stop. Listen. No more lies, no more excuses. You tell yourself every day, I don't have what it takes. You say, I'm not ready, or I'm too broken. But that is just the illusion, an empty voice meant to keep you small. Every excuse you whisper is another chain holding you back. Every moment you waste waiting for the perfect time is another minute lost in mediocrity. Look around you. The world is harsh and unyielding. It doesn't wait for the timid or the hesitant. It favors those who seize the moment, who dare to break free of their self-imposed limits. Think back to every failure, every betrayal, every hardship that you've endured. These aren't reasons to give up. They are your fuel. They are the raw material from which legends are forged. Ask yourself, are you going to keep clinging to the comfort of your excuses? Or are you ready to shatter them once and for all? Deep down, you know the truth. You have untapped strength, a power that lies dormant beneath all that fear and doubt. It's waiting to be unleashed. The illusion that you're weak, that you're not enough, is a lie. It was designed to keep you in line, to keep you quiet, to keep you from rising. Today, you decide to silence that lie. You choose to reject the comfort of mediocrity and embrace the discomfort of growth. Every time you hesitate, every time you listen to the voice of doubt, you are choosing to be ordinary. But you were born for greatness. No one will hand you success on a silver platter. You must fight for it. You must break the chains of self-doubt and step into the fire of your own potential. Your excuses are nothing but a prison built by your fears. Break free. Tear down those walls with every ounce of your determination. Let the world see that you are not defined by your past mistakes or the limits others impose on you. You are defined by the fire in your heart and the relentless will to rise, no matter what. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every rejection is a lesson. Every failure is a stepping stone to something greater. Now is the time to stop apologizing for who you are and start demanding the respect you deserve. Stand up. Fight back. Prove to everyone and yourself that the person they thought was weak is now a force to be reckoned with. You hold the power to rewrite your story. Don't let the world dictate your fate. Take control, break the illusion, and shatter the chains of your own excuses. The truth is simple. Your life is yours alone. And if you don't take it, no one else will. Enough is enough. No more sitting in the dark waiting for someone to change your fate. The time for excuses is over. This is your moment. Right now, at this very second, to decide. Will you continue to be a victim of circumstance? Or will you step into your power and become the beast you are meant to be? You've tasted failure. You've been betrayed. You've cried alone in the silence of your own despair. Now, It's time to flip the script. Every time they said you'd never win, every time they mocked your dreams, let it fuel you. Let their doubts become the spark that ignites an inferno inside you. A fire so fierce it burns away every chain of weakness. Stand up, push forward. Do not wait for the world to hand you success. Take it with relentless determination. When you feel that surge of anger and pain rising from within, do not let it consume you. Use it as your weapon. Use it to break every barrier, to demolish every obstacle, to shatter every expectation. Picture this. In a world where you were once invisible, your very presence will soon be impossible to ignore. Your transformation from broken to beast will be so undeniable that those who once laughed at you will now tremble at the sound of your name. No more second guessing. No more apologizing for who you are. You are not here to be mediocre or to live in the shadows of others' opinions. You are here to dominate, to rise, and to leave an indelible mark on the world. Now, imagine your future. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. Every scar is a medal of honor. Every betrayal is fuel that propels you higher. You are no longer defined by your failures, but by the ferocity with which you overcome them. This is the moment you shatter the illusions that have kept you down for too long. This is the moment you decide that pain is not a curse. It is the power that makes you unstoppable. Your destiny is written in the fire of your resolve, in the silence of your comeback, and in the strength of your actions. So I challenge you now. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Stop listening to those who tell you that you're not enough. Rise up and be the monster they fear, the legend they will one day admire. Carve your own path, break every rule, and show the world that weakness is not in your blood. It's a choice you refuse to make. Embrace the struggle. Transform your pain into raw, unyielding power. And let every moment of suffering become a testimony of your unbreakable will. Because from this day forward, you are not the person they once knew. You are the force that cannot be tamed. You are the warrior who turned despair into dominance. Now go. Step into the arena of life with every ounce of your being and prove to the world that you are not a failure, but a legend in the making. Now, as you stand at the edge of everything you thought you were, remember this. Every scar, every tear, every moment of loneliness and betrayal has led you here. They once called you a failure. They laughed at your dreams. They left you broken in the darkness. But look at you now, rising from the ashes, a force of nature forged by pain. No more apologies, no more regrets, no more waiting for someone to believe in you. Today, you reclaim your power. Today, you silence the doubters with your unstoppable will. You are not defined by the hardships you endured. You are defined by the fire that refuses to be quenched. Every setback, Every bitter disappointment has become the fuel that propels you forward. The very things that were meant to shatter you now shape you into a legend. The world may have tried to keep you small. It may have tried to convince you that you were nothing. But you are so much more than they ever imagined. You are the storm that will sweep away their doubts. You are the silent thunder that makes them tremble when they hear your name. Rise up and let your legacy be written in the echoes of your victories. Let the pain that once haunted you now serve as a reminder of the warrior you've become. Stand tall, fight hard, and never look back. Because once you embrace your true power, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you. Remember, the journey from failure to legend is never easy. It demands sacrifice, relentless perseverance, and a heart that dares to beat against the odds. But you are not here to live in the shadows of what could have been. You are here to blaze a trail so bright that even the darkest corners of the world will feel your light. Now go. Take every ounce of strength you have and shatter the limits that have held you captive. Make them regret every moment they doubted you. Show them that the pain they inflicted was merely the spark that ignited the inferno within you. This is your final command. Rise and let your story become the legacy that others will forever strive to emulate. The time is now. The power is yours. And your legend, born of pain, molded by struggle, and tempered in fire, begins here.